Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. There's a lot of new people on the channel, and I want to welcome you. Today, we're going to get into each of the holy elements of God's tabernacle surrounding Donald Trump, including the most recent menorah that we found at the site of where Charlie Kirk's life ended. We will also discuss today Trump's recent admission that warp speed literally killed people. And we're going to discuss the implications of that and what all that means in today's show. Now, again, if you're new, a little bit about this channel so that you can see that the agenda here is not political. Most of us here on this channel are right-leaning to some degree, but not in the sense that you might think. Because true conservatism means more privacy, medical freedoms, maintaining human autonomy, free of artificial intelligence, free of surveillance in our life, free of coerced vaccines. And if you haven't figured it out by now, man is now being replaced by machine, and that's not conservative. So on this channel, we refuse the necessary evil of partisan politics because we know it's simply the other side of the same coin. Therefore, I trust no politicians, I don't vote, and I demand an overhaul of the system to establish true citizen rights that we don't have now and that every month that goes by are being eroded in plain sight, no matter if there's a conservative or a liberal in the White House. Now, you can label that what you want. We don't like labels here, but that's pretty much what I believe. And I think most of the people that come to this channel believe this. There is no side that's better because the side that seems better is covertly working together with the losing side as the football is handed back and forth. And the losers are you and I as the tech agenda marches forward from both sides. Trump was never better than Kamala because she was chosen to lose so that he could advance the agenda. And the proof of that is that Biden was working on the very Stargate AI program that Trump launched. So it didn't matter who was in the White House. You can look all this up. It's all facts. And Obama was working on the mRNA technology before Trump ever commissioned warp speed. And that brings us to today's stories. Because Trump has finally made the fatal error. What am I talking about? Just like he ditched the Epstein hot potato when things got too hot, not out of some moral awakening, but out of selfish protection, he's now trying to separate himself from his own vaccine legacy. This is the headline, you guys. This is the deflection of all deflections. He is literally now trying to separate himself from the very demon that he created, warp speed. After he was on record dozens of times telling people to get it, telling people he was the father of it, they are now set to admit that it killed children. Now, all of us were trying to tell people about this even before it came to market. Oh, there's about 6 or 7 videos on this channel telling people, hey, this technology they're talking about is not good. There's something happening here. And then when it came to market, again, we never wavered from that stance. I remember those days. It was so divided. And it was almost as if the other side, because everything was politically divided, it's almost as if they went out to get it just because there were crazy people telling them not to. Just to make a stand, just to try to prove that everything was okay. And look at now what's happening. Now, why are they doing this? Well, this is a form of gaslighting. They're literally telling you the truth. And still, people are going to believe them and trust these people, even after they took something that they're now admitting is this. Trump team set to announce the link between 25 child deaths and we'll just call it warp speed. Trump health officials are set to announce the link between 25 child deaths and the VidCo-19 have been a focal point of Trump's health agenda, which is being led by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Trump's team plans to present its newest claim during a meeting next week of the Centers of Disease Control. It's almost like they're baiting people. He cannot detach himself from this. He cannot detach himself from this. He doesn't get to. He didn't defend the people who wanted to opt out of it. He recommended it several times. And that's when he owned this. Now, let's get into some other stories. And then at the end of the show today, we're going to get into these Tabernacle relics surrounding Donald Trump that seem to suggest that he's trying to recreate God's temple here on earth, except it ain't our God. What else is going on? Well, more Epstein emails have been released that seem to indicate that Epstein told Ghislaine Maxwell to remove Trump from Epstein's own private list. Now, they don't say what kind of list specifically, but since the emails have been released, let's read this. Epstein told Maxwell to remove Donald Trump from the mysterious power list. According to a new cache of intriguing emails released Thursday. Oh my goodness. The trove, more than 18,000 messages from his Yahoo account, depicts Maxwell as closely involved in money movements, reputational pushback, and intimate logistics. One of the most startling Trump-related moments is disarmingly brief. On September 14th, 2006, Maxwell wrote, "Please review, list, and add or remove peeps," attaching a roster of 51 politicians, financiers, and power players. Purpose of the list isn't stated. Bloomberg could not determine if it from the email itself, given there was no subject line or context to indicate what it referred to. Epstein's two-word reply was short but striking. It said simply, "Remove Trump." The removal of Trump's name from whatever the list was came 2 months after Epstein was charged in Florida with solicitation of prostitution. A year later, Epstein would sign a secretive 2007 non-prosecution deal that spared him federal charges. Now, if we look at the time frame of all this, wasn't this when Trump said he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago? Right around this time frame, 2006? If that's the case, why would Epstein continue to protect Trump by removing him from this list? Again, Trump didn't have some moral moment in kicking Epstein out. He was simply creating separation. He was a hot potato. Couldn't be associated with him, but that didn't mean that they remained connected or friends or whatever. And this seems to prove that Epstein was still covering for Trump by removing him from the list. Or you could say, because there's no subject line or context, I guess you could say this could have been a list that he removed Trump from because Trump was no longer his friend. I guess you could say that because we don't have all the information. We're not here to, make up stuff out of thin air. So we got to give fair balance to what this could be, right? So you have to decide what this is all about. I don't think that Trump had a moral moment. I think he was simply creating separation, and more will come out in the days to come. But now, based on these emails, some people are already seeing the repercussions. First person has finally been fired after being friends with the stain. This individual here, Britain's ambassador to the United States, fired after newly surfaced emails reveal the extent of his friendship with Epstein. Now, I would like to see a lot more than these people just get fired. They don't care. They've already made their millions and billions. They don't care if they get fired. That's just, to me, just all that does is make it pretend like something was being done, right? But really, nothing's done. There's no teeth to this. There's no punishment. But Peter Mandelson was fired in the UK because of his connections to Epstein. And yes, we need to see a lot more than this. Now, as this whole thing shakes out with Charlie Kirk, of course, Trump is throwing fuel on the fire. It's almost as if they want the violence and the chaos, because listen, the more violence and chaos there is, the less people are going to be thinking about Epstein, right? And the files that we all want released. And just so you know, in the end, one of the last things that Charlie Kirk said was that he wanted the files released. Let me give you the timeline, just in case you weren't sure. Let me go back into the chat. We'll have a short discussion about this. What really happened was, first of all, when Charlie Kirk first came out and the files came out, he was talking about covering for Trump. Remember, he was running cover. And then all of a sudden, Charlie Kirk's base was like, we want the files released. This was the MAGA uprising that everybody was talking about. But notice they never mentioned Charlie Kirk. They only mentioned MAGA. They just said, MAGA's turning on Trump. They want the files released. Well, a huge portion of that were Charlie Kirk's young followers demanding for that. But notice how the mainstream media did not mention Charlie Kirk's name during that part. And if you weren't in the Charlie Kirk crowd, you would not have known about that. But it in fact was the case. Then there was radio silence from Charlie Kirk as he seemed to try to sweep it under the rug. In July of this year, he stopped talking about the Epstein files. But then in the 3 weeks before he died, he started asking for the files again. Now, during that time, during that reprieve, when he stopped talking about the files, Donald Trump met with him. And it was almost as if Donald Trump told him to shut up. And he did until a few weeks ago. Now, you can do with that information what you want, but it wasn't just him criticizing Israel. He was also asking for the files. He was also criticizing the governor. He was also criticizing and calling the country that shall not be named out for literal genocide. Do with that information what you will, but those are the facts. If you think that had absolutely nothing to do with what happened to him, okay, fine. That's your opinion, and you can go with that. But those are the facts. With a little bit of digging, 2 minutes of digging, you can find all that information. Now, what else is going on? So, Trump is running interference. He wants chaos. He's like, oh, people are fighting. He's making literal veiled threats to the liberals, saying it's the liberal extremists that are the problem instead of the right-wing extremists. They're trying to make the Scrooter, which I don't even believe it's the real Scrooter. I think it's some kind of patsy. They're trying to make him out to be some left-wing radical. When his entire family was right-leaning, they were all MAGA. Then we got this weird connection with his wife, who was a reality TV star. I'm sure you guys have heard all of this. And she was from the Juice Club as well. You have to wonder. You guys, this is a long con with these people. They will literally seed people into your life to bring you down. They will come at you. And I'm not saying I know for a fact that that's what happened here, but everybody thinks it was really weird what's been happening over the last couple days. So, how these people act tells you what's going on here. Now, wait a minute, Casey. At least Trump sticks up for our Second Amendment rights. Well, Trump went off of his Second Amendment right script, confiscating more guns under a narrow law that isn't enforced in any other states. Let's read, you guys. Trump is proud of his ability to confiscate guns. Now, we knew this back in 2019. The red flag laws that Trump endorsed. And I said, you guys, this is not good. It's not good that an angry ex can write a one-page complaint anonymously to a judge and armed men show up to their house in the dark of night and confiscate your guns. And now you're on a list. That is not good. It shouldn't be that easy. And I showed you how many tens of thousands of guns were confiscated under the red flag law. Trump said, take the guns now, ask questions later. He was never pro-Second Amendment. But here, with these raids, it's gone to another level. Now let's read this carefully, very quickly. As federal officials have boasted about their efforts to fight crime in D.C. following the Trump administration massive deployment of the National Guard troops, they have all pointed to the same statistic to prove their success: the number of guns recovered by law enforcement. Now, they're saying here because the guns were not legal. But let's keep reading here. The tough talk on guns is sudden departure from the administration's approach to gun regulation. Trump has cut funding for Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, shut down the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, issued a plan to slash 2/3 of the inspectors, and directed the FBI to narrow the definition of who is considered a fugitive of justice. Republicans' state legislatures have passed right-to-carry laws in 29 states, which allow anyone without a serious conviction or an active restraining order to own and carry unregistered guns. And this is what it should be. You shouldn't have to check in and register your right to have a gun. Nobody wants their privacy breached. And this is where we go back to the beginning of the program. True conservatism means you shouldn't have to register a gun, because that's your private information on file. And everybody knows what you have. Well, the government does anyway. And when they decide they want to come for those, they know exactly where to go. It shouldn't be like that. You should be able to have unregistered guns. And now some people disagree with that. Okay, that's fine. But true conservatism, and you all know this, means that you should have private. I don't even think private property should be public record. That should be your own private property. No one should know where you live. So what Trump did is he went around this right to carry an unregistered gun. And he's doing it based on fear and violence. Oh, unregistered guns are dangerous. Gosh, that kind of sounds liberal, doesn't it? Trump himself says he supports a national right to carry law. The pressure to deregulate has been so strong that tough on crime U.S. Attorney from D.C., Janine Pereiro, announced in August that carrying a shotgun or rifle in D.C. without a license would only be charged as a misdemeanor from now on, even though the law allows her to charge it as a felony. Thanks to these efforts, the act that many citizens of D.C. have been arrested for since the National Guard arrived, possession of a gun without a license, is no longer a crime in much of the country. So in the rest of the country, it's not a crime, but Trump made it a crime in D.C. That's the summary of this story. Now, I'll put a link to all these stories, as I always do, in the pinned comment for those of you interested in digging deeper on some of these topics. But here's what's happening with your privacy. The world's richest men are now buying up all of the media companies. So this means even less privacy. This means even more consolidation of information. This means even more censorship and control of messages and relevance on our level. The people? Isn't it supposed to be about the people? Wait a minute. Shouldn't there be rules that tech companies can't control the flow of information from the people, which is all of us, and cannot censor and hide agendas or topics that organically become popular? Isn't that supposed to be conservative America? None of that's happening right now. Elon Musk, Larry Ellison are buying up huge media companies to control the flow of information. So they get to dictate what's real and what's not you and I on the grassroots level. And if anything starts to catch fire and catch on, people start waking up to things, they simply turn you off. That's what's happening. Now, Woody Allen opens up about dinner parties he had at Epstein's house. He said, I never saw any underage girls. He couldn't have been nicer. He said all kinds of famous people were showing up to his house after he got arrested and indicted. Sounds to me like one giant club where, in plain sight, these people pretend like they're against this, but really, behind closed doors, they're all friends. Katie Couric, Charlie Rose, George Stephanopoulos, Chelsea Handler. In this article, he talks about they would have like magician night. So they would have a bunch of magicians, David Blaine. Other nights they would have comedian night. So they'd have a bunch of comedians. Everybody was just freely hanging out with this guy after he got arrested for what he got arrested for. I'll leave a link to that article. Now, let me check with you guys, and then we're going to get into the last part of the show, most important part of the show. We're going to expand on the menorah candle at the site of where Charlie Rose was allegedly murdered. I don't want to look, all opinions are welcome here, but the evidence is starting to stack up that this was some kind of ritual. And we found the menorah candle yesterday at the site of where he was killed. Now, what is the menorah candle? Well, it's the number of candles in the menorah that determines its occult meaning. So this is the 9-candle menorah, the one that seemed to symbolically be visible from the aerial view of the Kirk shooting at the Utah University. And this menorah is specific to Hanukkah, a Jewish holiday. Here it is right here. They call it the Hanukkah menorah. That's what it's called. And each candle stands for a day in Hanukkah. 8 candles, 8 days, but there is a 9th candle. What is the 9th candle used for? Where Charlie was sitting would be the 9th candle position in the middle. This is the 9th candle. He was sitting right here, 9th candle. Well, the 9th candle is used to light the other 8. It is called the shamash, the helper or the servant. Without the central candle, you can't light the other candles. And Charlie's candle was put out. The death of God. I'm not saying that in reference to him. I'm saying spiritually, this is what this is about. Because this is all about the occult. This is all about ritual. To put this in the minds of people. This is why he's being, remembered like this. And people are seeing him as some kind of savior almost. Because of this ritual lying beneath the surface. And it actually does affect people's minds and hearts. Now, the Hanukkah menorah is different than the biblical temple menorah. This is the biblical temple menorah. Remember, it's all about how many candles are in it. The temple menorah has only 7 candles. And this one is pure gold. Now, all of this has meaning because the items of the holy tabernacle of God seem to be playing out in Trump's life. What do I mean? Well, you ready for this? Remember the Ark of the Covenant replica that was in Mar-a-Lago? This is it, right here. Another item of the tabernacle. And of course, this is Laura Loomer from the Juice Club. Casey, you're just making all this up. Just because a tabernacle showed up and you think you see a menorah where Charlie Kirk got shot means absolutely nothing. Well, guess what? Remember the goat? This was sacrificed for the sins in the tabernacle. This was also at Mar-a-Lago. The sacrificial goat. Except it was covered in Trump money. Paper mache in Trump money. Well, so what, Casey? That's just another coincidence. Okay, so you have a goat, you have a menorah that you think you see, and you have a tabernacle. It's all just made up. Well, remember the tabernacle itself that we covered about 6 months ago that fit exactly twice in Trump's tower in the covered area. Yes, the exact dimensions of the tabernacle from the Old Testament fits exactly twice in Trump Tower, which was built in 1983, in this covered space. Now, we have a menorah, albeit an incorrect version of the menorah, right? Not a biblical menorah, a Jewish menorah. Well, this is all just coincidence, Casey. Well, guess what? We also have Trump's right ear and right thumb. Here's his right ear, pierced. Here's his... Let's find the thumb here. Where'd it go? Sorry, the tabs are all mixed up. Remember his right thumb? Well, guess what? I guess that's an accident too. That just so happens to be a priestly ritual surrounding the tabernacle. In the Old Testament, the right thumb, the right earlobe, and the big toe. Now, the only thing we couldn't find with Trump was the big toe, but some people remembered that his shoe came off when the alleged scrutiny took place. You guys, they are literally recreating the holy place of God and putting Trump in the middle of it. Now, this goes a level deeper because on yesterday's show, we showed you the mirror birthdays of Charlie Kirk and Barron Trump. They are mirror birthdays of one another. The sacrificial son, just like Isaac was almost sacrificed. And you probably know what I'm just about to say next. You're probably all thinking it. If this isn't the real holy place that's being recreated, it can only be one other thing. The false holy place. The Antichrist. Now, what do we have left? What else is in the tabernacle that hasn't been covered yet? And maybe it has been covered and I'm just not seeing it yet. But what do we have left? Well, the tabernacle relics also had the 12 showbread, the altar of incense, the bronze laver for washing, and the breastplate. Was this why they kept pushing this whole body armor thing about Charlie Kirk, even though there was clearly no body armor? Was that supposed to represent the breastplate of the high priest? You guys, there are too many metaphors going on here. This is biblical, it's spiritual, and either you believe that Trump is some kind of savior, which a lot of Christians believe that, and that's why all these things are overlaying, or you believe he's not. And it's clear to me because warp speed killed people. But it's not so clear for a lot of people, is it? So that's what I wanted to present to you guys today. I put links to all this in the pinned comment, all the stories covered today. I want to open this up for discussion in case you guys want to talk about this a little bit before we get off of here. But what the heck is going on? Good morning, everybody. Look at the mirroring and names of the two biggest events with 3 days of each other. No way. He is the very opposite. I agree. But a lot of people are still asleep. They're still Trump worshiping. The tablets of destinies. You know I was a snake when you picked me, says Trump. Yep. It's crystal clear to me too. Some people said, oh, well, maybe Charlie was taken out so that other people could come into his place. Well, now I'm starting to wonder if that isn't Barron. Maybe he was taken out so that Barron could move into this position at some point. I don't know. Well, what's clear to me is we have all of these elements of the tabernacle that are appearing surrounding Trump, with the menorah being the final one, or one of the final ones. So now we can be on the lookout for this, right? Now we can look for other elements like the 12 showbread, the table, and these things. You need to catch the Vatican Mormon connection. Okay, thanks for that. Yeah, like, I'm sure other channels are covering some of that stuff. And so that's good. Yes, the churches are now filled with evil demonic people that will not accept the truth, even when it's staring them in the face. I can show people what they just saw, and they'll say, oh, that means he's good. Video by Israeli News showing another possible scrooter. I wouldn't disagree with that. I don't think the guy that they say they caught actually did it. We already had other people distracting everybody. We had that older guy who ran out, was saying, shoot me, shoot me. Then we had someone else on a roof that didn't jump off of it with a gun, right? Then the whole, oh, okay, so where's the gun? Why would you bring it with you? Wouldn't you just leave it there? Oh, no, he broke it down first before he put it in his backpack. Even though it's a gun that takes several minutes to break down, he took the time to break it down and put it in his backpack before he jumped off the roof. That's what happened. Oh, okay. Then he jumped off the roof. Nobody saw him with a gun when he jumped off the roof. Oh, but then he ran away and he thought, oh, I better reassemble this gun because, I need to leave it perfectly intact and reassembled. And then he reassembled. He took another 5 minutes to reassemble the whole gun and then leave it in the woods. Come on. Come on. You guys know the truth, but the masses are completely asleep on this. So, what else is going on? Now, I didn't even get into the whole funeral thing and the wife and all that stuff. And I know there's a lot of good information out there about that. I feel like they're baiting us into discrediting the wife. And so I'm not going to do that here. And they're baiting us in to do that because guess what? If they can do that, then they'll turn everybody against the truth because they'll say, look at these crazy people. Now they're trying to say his wife. You know what I mean? I feel like it's bait. And this could even get more censorship put in place, they'll say this is completely insensitive. These people are nuts. So I'm not taking the bait on that one. There are other channels covering that stuff if you guys want to tune into those channels. And there's a lot of information. I'm not trying to discredit it. I'm just not taking the bait on that. So, all right. Funeral is the 16th. Thanks, Skies Over Spokane. Yeah, I know. I heard about it. I haven't even watched it yet, to be honest with you. There was a ring. She had like a ring. No, it's okay. You don't have to apologize. No, I'm just, stating my position on it is all. But yeah, there was a freaky ring with a G on it, and people are like, oh, it's got to be a Freemason ring. I wouldn't disagree with you about that. But if you look at her background, listen, the devil, one of the ways that they can get to men is to try to seed women into their life. And the guy might love the woman and, and all that, but it's usually a man's downfall. We saw it with Adam and Eve. Prime example, the very first time in the Bible. So yeah, I wouldn't rule that out, that there was a handler situation going on from the very beginning. This is usually how it works. So, all right, you guys. Well, I'm going to pop off here. Thanks everybody for showing up. And please share this video. Get the word out. I love you guys. And we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be able to get off of this topic. I'm kind of tired of talking about it. But this whole, relics of the temple needed to be summarized again. Because we had done all this work already, remember? We had put together all the relics surrounding Trump. Now we know what it means. Now we can connect it to this menorah. To me, it's as clear as day. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. Much love. Take care.